Hey, what is up? It is Anto, and this is going to be update number 6, I believe. Yeah, it's been that many. But I've adjusted the tree quite a bit for the starter version. I've cut off this entire right branch, dropped the damage down a little bit, but I've gone pretty much max block, and then it's going to be about 45 spell block. When you have roomies up, 64, 39 otherwise. But shout out to Incommodious on YouTube. I've pretty much just ripped a lot of his pathing, his skill pathing. So shout out to that guy. I'll link his YouTube channel in the description if you want to check him out. He's got a pretty good build guide for a very similar build to mine, and his gearing is very similar to mine. He just released his video today. It's his first video on YouTube, so we'll give him a warm welcome and check him out if you want to. He gave me a lot of good ideas that I actually hadn't thought about before. So we're up to 38,000 armor, which means our hit pool for physical damage is incredibly massive. Even if you drop in like hit damage of 5,000, our hit pool is still over 200,000, which is incredible. So this is achieved by going block and getting a bunch of armor, because this gives 800 armor if you blocked recently. We were already picking up combat sound and armor mastery here. We're also picking up a little bit more armor here, a little bit more armor here, and we're using an armor-based chest instead of a tabula. I mean, you can go tabula early, but a corrupted chest with armor and energy shield and some life shouldn't be too expensive. This is a pretty damn good one. This is just the default one from Path of Building, and it's pretty damn good. It's like T1, sorry, T2, T4, and T4 rolls. So it's pretty damn good, but it's not anything extraordinarily out of the picture for early on. You can probably find one that's similar to this. It's probably corrupted from like a fall side area or something, hopefully with your correct colors. But with the new tainted orbs, you might be able to recolor it pretty easy. Who knows? But we've also gone windscream. If you remember, my original one had windscreams in the leveling guide, so I've gone back to windscream again. Simply because windscream has resistance on it, and Doedre's damage does not have resistance on it. And since we're no longer pathing to Whispers of Doom, we still need that extra curse somewhere, because that extra curse is a lot of damage. I mean, you can go without the extra curse and path elsewhere, but for one cheap item, you can get an extra curse and get an extra 20% damage or so. That's definitely worth it. What else? We got an intuitive leap here. If you remember a few videos back in my tanky version with Divine Flesh, that I'm going to scrap for a similar version to this one that's max block. Well, that one was max block, but it had glancing blows and Divine Flesh, so it had similar HP pools. But the damage was a lot higher because it was going with Black Flame. So I'm going to convert this version to Black Flame later on, pick up some Cluster Jewels, and etc. etc. But I think this is better as a starter version because it's a lot tankier. My skills are a bit different than Incommodious uses. I'm going Clarity, Period of Elements, Vitality, Determination, where he's going Malevolence. He doesn't have Vitality, he doesn't have Clarity, so he's going to put this in later, I believe. But I'm putting them in early, and I'm going Purity of Elements, like full time. Because I just like the gearing, because we are pretty unique heavy to start out with, so the extra resistance, it's going to be like a level 30 because it gives like 34 resistance. So the extra resistance is great, and it opens you up to use a Watcher's Eye, which gives a lot of chaos res, up to 50% chaos resistance while affected by period of elements, which is going to help you cap chaos res so much easier, because we're an elementalist, we're not an occultist yet. And when you eventually switch to occultist, when you get Black Flame and you got your cluster jewels and everything like that, when you have 60% here and a 50% on another item, you're going to be at positive 50%. You're just going to need one roll of chaos resistance on any piece of gear, and you're capped, fully capped. So that would be amazing. But this is definitely not going to be a day 1 or day 2 item. You're probably going to have this a couple days later after people are actually doing Elder. But I don't think they're going to be too expensive. They might become expensive because a lot of people are going to be running Pure Developments, and Chaos Res is hard to come by in amounts like that are so big like that. But we're still at 1 million DPS. We're 75 block, 45 with roomies up. Got a lot of armor. And solid damage, and we're at $7.5 million ignite, 7.5 million per ignite. This is where Incommodious and I differ on our trees pretty heavily, is that he takes all of the pure fire damage over time multiplier stuff. And I guess I should swap that out. I should swap that out. So, but I go the right side up here because I really like ignite duration. Yes, you'll do slightly more damage if you go the other side, but these two nodes, 6.4 million per ignite, 7.4 million per ignite, 1 million more damage per ignite. I mean, it's doing it over a longer period of time, but over a longer period of time actually makes the utility of casting your other skills a lot easier. So basically, your rotation is going to be pretty complicated, but you'll get used to it. What you're going to do is you're going to cast Flammability on the boss, first of all, which is then going to trigger Despair and Elemental Weakness. Sorry, that should be Punishment. Punishment and Elemental Weakness. And then you are going to Wave of Conviction the boss, which is going to combust them because you'll have a 100% chance to ignite with Shaper of Flames. You won't have that early, which means you're going to need to invest in this ignite node, this ignite chance here, and then these we're going to take anyway. And then you probably will need the chance to ignite from the Curse Mastery here to get your Wave of Conviction up to 100% chance to ignite. With Ash Collars, it shouldn't be much of an issue. It's when you're switching to Searing Touch, which I'm suggesting now at level 62, so you can actually start getting your staff block nodes, and your block here, your block here, and your block here. Once you start wanting to get those, which is about around level 62 actually, it just kind of works out that way. That's exactly where the tree ends up right there, at least how I path it. So right about there, you want to switch to a Searing Touch so you can actually get those nodes, because you're not going to have a Martyr of Innocence day 1. Maybe not even day 2, maybe not even day 3. You know, if you're a really good player and you're quick, you can probably get it day 2, maybe even day 1, if you grind it. But I mean, these are usually only like 15C even day 1, so they're really not that expensive. And they dropped it way less than that, so might be more expensive this league because a lot of people want to run Ignite, even though Ignite is still slightly actually nerfed in the end. Like, I think my Hexblast is dealing 7% less DPS than it used to last league. So, like, overall with the E and EO changes, but it's still a good starter. It's still a good character. Still a great character. This is a lot tankier than I did last. Like, I kind of did a glass cannon last, like they did more damage, but was a lot less survivable than this character specifically. Infused Flesh is a cool node on the tree. And Mech Defense, Mystic Bulwark, these are all giving us block, but we're not going to need that once we go Shaper of Flames. So I'm going to go Mastermind of Discord, Heart of Destruction, Bastion of Elements, and Shaper of Flames. Because we can get to 100% chance to ignite without Shaper of Flames at all. And Shaper of Flames only is going to only apply once you have Martyr of Innocence. Because before that, fire is not going to be your highest damage, your flat damage. It only gives 25% more damage with ignites with hits for which the highest damage is fire, and you need that ton of flat damage, ton of flat fire damage from Martyr of Innocence to get fire to be the highest one. So if you notice, if we're using a Searing Touch, we're doing 757 fire and 1,273 chaos. So So we do a Martyr of Innocence. We're dealing with 1394 Chaos, and then almost 3400 fire. Well, over 3400 fire. So that big flat damage from Martyr of Innocence is huge, especially with the increased effectiveness of the Hexblast damage effectiveness going from 150 to 210. So Martyr of Innocence is just that much better. What else to talk about? Skills, flames. Adjusted the skills a little bit. We're going combustion, wave of conviction. I think I talked about that already. Main skill, I am using Ignite Proliferation instead of Fan the Flames. I've been using Ignite Proliferation for a while because I just don't like spending extra passive points on getting Proliferation. That's actually not as good because Fan the Flames is like a radius of 15. This is a radius of 20. And it does 24% more damage with Ignite. So it's actually a good damage link. It's like the best after Swift Affliction. And I just hate Swift Affliction. I hate that with a passion for Ignite builds. Because you look and it says 1.3 million and 9.4 Ignite. But if you'll notice something, watch this. It's supposed to give 25% less duration of ailments. 6.85 doesn't work. This doesn't work in PoE. This line right here doesn't do anything. So you're actually gonna get 9491 680. Sorry, whoops, 9491. God damn it. 9487 680 times 0.75. You're actually going to get 7 million damage per Ignite. Whereas with Ignite Proliferation, we're getting 8.5 million damage per Ignite. So even though the damage is about 100,000 more per second, the damage per Ignite is a lot better. And instead of 6.85 seconds, 6.85 times, whoops, 6.85 times 0.75, 5.1 seconds. That's solidly less. That means you're going to have to recast all of your curses, your Wave of Conviction, because you need to hit with Wave of Conviction before you Ignite, because you need to proc Convergence. Because if you proc Convergence with the Hexblast, the actual Hexblast itself, it's not going to apply. It's not going to deal the extra damage because only stuff after you've procced Convergence is going to get the extra damage. You can't proc and Ignite with Convergence and still get Convergence for the Ignite. You need to hit something beforehand. But this video has gone on long enough. It's become really rambly, but I'll leave the updated POB in the description. Shout out to Incommodious. Give him a follow, give him a sub. He's really given me a fresh take on this build, and I've inserted some of his changes, some of his pathing, and big props to him, big shout out to him. So peace.